substances that are tempting, but inside that thing that looks good and smells so good is something sharpened to a point, something that kills the spirit as soon as we bite into it. And so it is very important to understand how we come into such a vulnerable state in spirit and ego. And here are some of the ways. Over a period of 20 years, I have seen many men and women, and I hold these to be the things that are common to all who have had a certain loss of spirit. The first thing that has to go away is the person's ability to freely move and freely express themselves. So if you take a person who's an original, and each person, of course, is an original, unique individual, and you over-domesticate them early, preferably before they're able to speak or before they're able to walk. And then you over-socialize the person to an extreme, to the point where they no longer resemble a natural criatura, a natural creature, but instead look crippled, look tied down, look as though they have no glow inside of them. That sets up a famine in the psyche. It sets up a hambre del alma, a starvation of the soul. In all accuracy, it's actually a starvation in the circuitry between the soul and the spirit. And the spirit is the thing that is actually dying and starving. Then the next step, in order to create a being that is going to be pushed into a longingness for destruction, you might say, is to isolate them, not allow them to express their suffering, not validate their suffering, and to ostracize them or exile them to the very edge of the culture so that they begin to feel unworthy to even ask for succor or support or help. And then, in addition to that, and this is again still when people are young, you teach them not to question, and you teach them only one point of view and a relatively narrow point of view, so that when they examine and truly assess how they are, they never fit within that narrow locus. And so when they compare how they are with the picture that's been given to them of what is normal and what is right and what is proper, they always fall outside and therefore feel disenfranchised and exiled. And this causes, of course, a neediness, a longingness, a hunger, an intense hunger to be built up in the individual. And almost in kind of crazed kind of hunger that is so compelling that an individual will take almost anything in its place to try to make oneself feel better. And whatever happens to help the most, regardless of its destructiveness, is usually what is chosen at that point. And so people fall into excesses of all sorts. And even though those excesses are in part destroying them, they are also in part seeming like they are helping them. So I would like to tell you the story of the red shoes. And this is a story that was told a long time ago, and we're most familiar with it here in America, as in the Hans Christian Andersen collection, but it is actually a far older story than that. And sometimes it's called the Devil's Red Hot Shoes, and sometimes called the Red Shoes, and sometimes called the Girl Who Would Dance. Once there was a poor motherless child who had rags for a dress and no shoes at all. But the child saved cloth scraps wherever she found them, and over time she sewed for herself a pair of shoes, which she stained red with the juice of berries. And these shoes were very crude, but she loved them, and they made her feel rich, even though her days were spent gathering food in the thorny woods until far past dark, and even though many evenings she was tired.
Para seguir escuchando este audiolibro gratuitamente, haz clic en el enlace de la descripción y podrás escucharlo completo sin coste gracias a la prueba de 30 días de Audible.